I am, since Chuck was bragging about the Senate and what they're up to, I want to revisit your other question about what we do in the House as we go forward with this new Congress. And I want you to take great pride in the fact that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was here in a bipartisan situation, is what we call a cardinal, a Jewish cardinal in the Appropriations Committee. The cardinals they are the chairs of the committees. She has a very important position on appropriations, which is where this bill of funding for Israel takes place. Two people who are going to be here. Lois Frankel is on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Alcee Hastings on rules, but he's our top person, our chairman of the Helsinki. And that's important in terms of anti-Semitism as well as pro-Israel initiatives. Ted Deutsch from this area is the chair of the Middle East Subcommittee of the Foreign Affairs Committee. The list goes on. Nita Lowey is the chair of the Appropriations Committee, the first woman, and a big supporter of Israel, as you know, strong Israel-U.S. relationship. Eliot Engel is the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Adam Schiff is the chair of the Intelligence Committee. So we have people very well placed to share our values in terms of the heart and the Israel in heart and Israeliness in spirit. Shared values. Remove all doubt in your mind. It's just a question of not paying attention to a few people who may want to go their own way. But as far as our Congress is concerned, we try very hard to unify, to have bipartisanship in all of this.
Can I just, Chaim, one thing? If you probably look in the House of Representatives, the two most important committees for Israel are Foreign Affairs and Appropriations. And you couldn't have two stronger supporters of Israel, both New Yorkers, than Nita Lowey and Eliot Engel. So the House is in very good shape to be really strong for Israel this year.
Amazing, no? You never hear it any other place but Takes on the World. That was House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer, the highest-ranking Democrat in the Senate, during their duet for Israel in December with Haim Saban, a naturalized Israeli-American billionaire who several years back proudly told a New Yorker interviewer that he was a one-issue man. That one issue is Israel. The first committee chair Pelosi mentioned in that clip was Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the Florida congresswoman who you may remember was forced to resign as head of the Democrat National Committee when the emails released by WikiLeaks revealed her to have rigged the primaries on Hillary Clinton's behalf against Bernie Sanders. No penalty box for her from Pelosi. Taking pandering to a new low or high, depending on your perspective, she also told Saban and the audience that, quote, if this Capitol, assuming she was referring to Washington, crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain would be our commitment to our aid. I don't even call it our aid, our cooperation with Israel. That's fundamental to who we are, end quote. If there's any good news on that front, it's that polls show that young Democrats have been deserting the party's traditional pro-Israel stance in droves. It explains why the senators thus far in the Democrat presidential chase but one, Amy Klobuchar, including Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, both with close ties to the pro-Israel lobby, voted against the legislation passed by the Senate last week, 77-23, reinforcing decisions by 26 states so far, making the boycott of Israel against the law. At some point down the road, they will all have to choose between their funders and voters. In that regard, a Google survey commissioned this week of 1,000 U.S. voters by the Institute for Research Middle East Policy, when asked the question, should Congress force American businesses seeking government contracts to first sign a pledge that they won't boycott Israel for its human rights record and military occupation, 75% said no. This is Jeff Blankfort, February 13th edition of Takes on the World, a program on international affairs that comes your way the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month and every other fifth Wednesday